Right, so we've got a few people here. We've got a bunch of people signed up, so people are going to be coming in probably throughout the evening. Some of you are very familiar to me, so hello again. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tyler Woods. I'm the Managing Director for Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park. It's our pleasure to present this free programming with assistance from Allied Arts, who is making this all possible. This is our way of reaching out to the community during COVID and trying to stay connected. We've been able to secure wonderful teachers from across the nation and to do these 90-minute master classes. This evening we have Oklahoma native and OSP alum, Enid native, I guess, and OSP alum Joshua Koehn. He is right there, the man for the evening. He is many a show at OSP. And in fact, the very first show I saw, and the very first show I was ever in at OSP was with Josh. And we're very excited. He's now in New York City. He's been there for several years, about over 20 years.
Yeah.
And he had
putting that all together. That was wonderful map.
The young man, he's young. This young man here is going to be presenting this evening, and he's an artistic director now. He has his own theater. He's been doing wonderful work up there, actor, director, artistic director, and man about town. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Josh, and you guys have a great class tonight.
Well, the two of you, how wonderful. It's all going to be on YouTube, you realize, when we speak so much.
That's awkward. There's more. There's more than just us.
They are? They're hiding in the shadows?
I'm serious. They just don't have their cameras on. There's a few more people.
Well, that's eerie. If they don't have their cameras on, why are they doing that to me?
Well, one of the people said that they can't turn their camera on.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. Oh, and then Aaron left. So, okay, she's back.
Calm down.
Zoom is very difficult for a man of the theater. I have to tell you this. Anybody that is out there doing Zoom work, I do have to applaud you because it's very difficult. My name is Joshua Koehn, as Tyler said, and hello, sir. My name is Joshua, and I have been up here in New York acting and directing for 20 some odd years. And last year, I just opened up my own theater space there. And we have a full run. We were in the middle of rehearsing, I think, our 6th show when the plague hit. But we do a grouping of classical works. We just did our first Oscar Wilde in February. And we had a slate of some reworking of some other classical medieval plays coming up. And all that's on the back burner. We hope to return sometime in the near future. But that's me. So why take this? Why hear me pontificate? What are you here for? You saw my name, Aaron, and obviously that's what the draw is. I understand that, obviously.
Obviously.
That's why the room's so full. But what is everyone doing? I mean, it's in the matter of COVID. So what is everyone doing about their theater? What is going on down there? Hank, why are you here? Turn your camera, turn your sound on, Hank.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
I can, Hank.
I'm here because I really enjoy acting and I like to learn about it and get other people's perspectives on it. It's really cool. It's nice to learn about this.
How old are you?
I'm 16.
Oh, that's a good age to be. Have you been in anything?
Yes, I have. My most recent play was Alice in Wonderland, and we've did a musical the year before that, and Peter Pan. I've done several different plays throughout the years with the group that I've done.
Are you going to, is this something you want to pursue? professionally after school?
Yes, but not as much focus on it as I would still like to continue with it, but not as a main job course.
Very wise. I have to say that no matter what you do in theater, it will help you in every sort of career you could pick. There's not one career that theater cannot inform. Whether even if you have to get up and give a speech in front of a board of directors, it teaches you how to interact with people. It also makes you stay in someone else's shoes for an amount of time, to think like them. I actually liken acting to being a detective because detection is the same thing. You have to come up with motive. You have to come up why they did it, where they were at, and all these things. Same thing with acting. Same thing with acting. And so I think that's one of the worst parts about seeing theater cut out of schools is because people look at it and they say, oh, well, my child's not going to grow up to be an actor, so why would they need theater? Well, I think that theater broadens your horizons and even at the very least allows you a room to not be afraid to get up and speak in front of others. I mean, that's a huge thing. Once you pass that boundary of not being afraid of getting up and talking in front of other people or putting yourself out there in that way, it really comes for the rest of your life what you can and cannot do. For instance, you know, the best actors are the ones that come in on day one of rehearsals not being afraid to make an ass out of themselves. And I have so many actors that it takes time to beat the fear out of them because they are afraid they are going to come in and everyone's laughing at them and everyone's going to make, nah, that couldn't be the farthest from any other actor's mind because they're afraid of the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Once you know that there is no limits, and if you have a competent director, which I think most of the directors are, they will tell you when it's too much, when it's too little, because A, a director doesn't want you to go out and make a fool out of yourself because it shows badly on them, and B, an audience doesn't want to see a bad actor. The audience is never against you. They don't want to spend time, an hour and a half, an hour, watching a bad play. They root for you just as much as you're rooting for you. In fact, that's why if you've ever been in a play and something goes wrong, a piece of scenery falls or something goes wrong, and the actor goes on with that. They go on through the play. They improv, they do something. The audience loves it. You usually hear this applause. They're rooting for you. Now, we as actors have a bit of magic that the audience doesn't understand. You're going to get the question, oh, how do you memorize all those lines? I wouldn't be able to get up there. Is it scary? Because normal people, we'll call them, normal people have no idea what it's like to get up in front of a group of people like that. But once an actor is able to do that, as I said before, it's going to press through everything he does in life. It really frees you as a human being to be able to better communicate with other people. I'm rambling. So, any questions? I could ramble on like this for quite some time. So, no, Aaron got quiet. First time.
You're so funny.
Well, you know, how old were you, Aaron? Weren't you in Hamlet?
I started when I was 15. Oh, so, and we won't talk about how long ago that was, but yes, I actually started, the first show I did with Shakespeare in the Park was The Winter's Tale. And then the next show after that, I believe, was Hamlet at Stage Center. So, yeah.
A little bit of time has passed. A little bit of time.
I'm
Hank,
like, do you want me to keep you on track?
I've got an hour and a half. I'm very interesting, actually. Hank, have you done? Where are you? Where do you live? I mean, not your
Oklahoma.
address, but what area?
Close to Shawnee, between Shawnee and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Oh, so are you far away? Is that far away from Shakespeare in the Park?
Not terribly.
Hmm.
Hour.
Yes, if you could, if you can, to definitely work with Shakespeare in the Park.
Okay.
It ruined me, but well, because, and don't let this happen to you. I got a Shakespeare bug. And I've done mainly only Shakespeare my whole career, my whole life. It just has been well, not ruined. It sucked me in. It's like people feel with Harry Potter. You get into it, and Harry Potter has so many little offshoots of special wording and special things they call things. And it is the same with Shakespeare. Every time you peel back a piece of Shakespeare, you're going to go in more and more and more and more. It just is an endless rabbit hole full of problems. But if you can, I would say work with Shakespeare in the Park. And I would say to continue, if you can, in college to do theater as a side issue, if that's not your main passion. Because, you know, my high school teacher once told me, she said, if you can do anything else besides theater, do it. And those are very wise words, because I would not wish theater on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't. It is a tough life, Hank. But I would say, if you enjoy it, to continue to do it. Now, if you can do something else, do that too. But you can also, fortunately in Oklahoma, there is a thriving community theater where you could be a doctor or a lawyer or a candle maker or a farmer, and you can come in and you can, and it's an amazing group of people that you would never think are actors, but all of a sudden they come in, and community theater allows them the freedom to be able to take on parts, to be able to act, which they wouldn't have been able to do, say, here in New York. In New York, you have to really go for that. There's really no community theater in New York. It is tough, but it's funny because when I was in Oklahoma, a lot of actors there would say that, oh, you know, the theater we're doing here isn't as important as the theater I'm doing in New York. But actually, I think the theater that happened in Oklahoma was some of the more visceral theater I have done ever. I learned exceptionally more from the theater I did there. And continually when I'm doing shows here, and I'm part of the union and I get paid and all this business, but they always ask me, well, where's your, you know, how do you know these things? Right? And it was only because I was doing community theater in Oklahoma City that I was doing OSP, and I did Carpenter Square. I don't know, is Carpenter Square still around, Erin? It is? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you looked pained. No? No?
I'm like, I don't know. It was, I'm not sure.
But that's...
Yeah, I guess it still is. It still is. Didn't they just build, I'm like, I don't know if Tyler's still on here. I'm like, I think they just moved to a new place.
Well, you don't seem too excited about it, Erin, so I don't know what... You don't even know if it's in existence. So that might not bode well for Carpenter Square. but you learn everything. I learned carpentry. I learned costuming. I learned how, you know, everything. I really can't. It was an all-around good experience that really set me up for a lot of things. And that landed me here some time ago. And yes. So, questions? No questions. No questions.
Do you want to go through everybody else and see what they're here for?
Yes. Who?
There-
Jean Wen? Is that how you say it? Oh, she's on mute. Why is she on mute?
I just unmute myself.
Oh,
like she had herself on mute.
don't do that. I thought it was my fault. I am very terrified of this thing we're doing.
Don't be scared of Zoom. Zoom is your friend, Josh.
I have done 3 performances now on Zoom, and each one is terrifying to me because I'm afraid I'm going to unmute mute myself, or I won't be able to get into the chat room. I text Tyler like 4 times before this actually started. I was really paranoid that it wasn't the right night, or but anyway, is it Jin Wong? Is it Jin?
Yes.
Oh, that's fairly good.
Yes. Correct. Just like in Jingle Bell.
Oh,
My I signed up. So my son, actually, I sent him to theater school, but he doesn't want to get on the Zoom call. So I am taking the class for him. Where we go to theater in the park here in Chicago.
You're in Chicago.
We're not actors. We enjoyed.
And
Well,
you've signed him up
audience.
And you've signed him up for theater.
I sent him to theater school to basically what you said earlier. The purpose, objective was broaden his horizon, build his self-confidence, and be able to, I guess, speak in front of the audience.
I don't want to.
Oh, well, but he's already doing it. That's great.
Not right now.
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
It's actually very good.
Yeah, well, everything stopped
I
right now.
cannot tell you how, because I've taught several. I was just teaching before COVID a after-school program. I was director of an after-school arts program, and what it gives to kids, how much it gives to kids, I can't how good it is, I can't tell you, because it's so much better than you would imagine. Especially when they have a bunch with them, a bunch of kids with them, then they end up being able to express themselves in a group. And also for kids that age, and actually for any age, being in a cast of actors really also teaches you how to work as a group. One of the worst things I was taught in college, and actually in professional theater, I've heard this several times, you've had directors and even some professors that will say, as an actor, you only need to be worried about your entrance, your lines. And if you are, I see you shrugging, Aaron, but this was actually told to me by a certain person. And I said, no, not you, never. But they said, if you and your partner are about to walk on and your partner's not there, don't go and get them. That's fine. You are concerned about yourself. Well, I'm here to say that never works. That is totally wrong. You should always act as a family and always act as a group. Now, on the flip side of this, a lot of actors feel that if they were going to be ready for their cue and you come back and tell them, oh, you're about to miss your cue, they themselves get personally upset. But I tell actors not to get upset, the person is only looking out for you. Take it and say, thank you very much, and go on. It really just teaches you reliance and even a form of politeness of realizing how other people feel in any given situation. So I applaud you as a mother putting your child into it, because it will help them. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing transformation for kids.
He lacks a confidence, but when he was very young, at 4-year-old, he was cast in his school play. He Grinching. What's that? What's the name of the show? He was the Max. He was his preschool casted him.
Was it The Grinch That Stole Christmas?
Yes, he was the dog, the Max.
Oh, Max the dog, a starring role.
Yes.
How clever.
So that's how I inspired. Our family don't have any actor background at all.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
But yes, I'm not. I don't expect him. That's what I say. So we enjoy the show. I take him to shows. We go to theaters. We go to actually, in fact, I have go some show that we think it's a family show, but it's actually a majority of people and adults. And he actually behaved very well in those shows. So I continue to take him to the shows.
And that's really good too. It teaches them to be a good audience. But there is something, it's taking them to theater is always such a different experience than taking a child to like a movie. Because a movie, there is a falseness. They can, those people on the screen are never going to react to any child in the audience. They just do the same thing over and over again. In theater, you are just as alive as they are. Whatever you're affecting, whatever you're doing is going to affect them. And for a big parents, as an actor, the immediacy of like comedy, for instance, when you say a joke, when you do something funny, there's immediate laugh. So you go, okay, that worked. Now sometimes colder audience, they're enjoying it, but they don't give you the immediacy of the laugh. And you go, oh, what did I do? But if you flip it in drama too, there's been times where I've been in a drama and a dramatic moment happens and you can feel, even though there's no sound, you can feel the breath between you and the audience exchange. You know when you've connected with an audience. It's an amazing feeling. In my theater that we have now, we have it lit with what we call Edison bulbs, which are these old-timey bulbs that are not white light. Everything is in this amber haze. Not only is it's very flattering to everybody, but we also let the footlights, because we have footlights, and we let that bleed off into the audience. So the audience is never in full darkness in my theater. In fact, the actors can see the audience almost as well as the audience can see us.
I'm getting on the class.
And we've had a lot of audience come up afterwards and say, I felt so different from any other show I've done or seen because I felt I could get up and talk to you. And we really want people to get up and talk to us, if that is the moment.
But we get in the same room on the class.
Late 1800s, did they start turning down the house lights? It used to be that you could come into a theater and they would serve food, they would serve drinks, and people would talk and converse while the actors were on stage. There was no audience sit down and be good little boys and girls while we do this performance.
I can still hear.
I know, it's trouble. But we're trying to have some sort of dialogue with the audience now. And it's very kind of experimental. I don't know. It's a very big, my theater is a very big throwback. It's a very big throwback. You do see a lot of the strings. You do see what's happening. And all the soliloquies, all the asides are given directly to the audience. We talk to them frequently. A lot of times we come through the audience. We're part of the audience. And I want to see how far we can break down the audience and actor barrier. We were just doing Richard III. What you're smiling, Aaron?
Isn't that like your
I like
favorite?
Richard
Yeah,
I feel
that-
like you've done that so many times.
We're doing Richard III. I think it's my 5th time doing it. Now, you do tend to go back to certain parts. And we have a part where Richard calls for some strawberries, and this bishop comes on with these strawberries. And he says to the people on stage, "Oh, my lord called for these strawberries. Where is he?" And so the actor playing the bishop had these strawberries. He'd bring in fresh strawberries every night. And for some reason, that first night, he turned to the people in the front row and he offered them all the strawberries. So people actually got up to get strawberries, and this kind of congregation of people came to pick out these strawberries in the audience. And it was without a ripple. There was no moment of oddity about it. We have 2 pews sitting on the sides of the stage, and there's audience members sitting there. So we refer to them, we talk to them, we sit down with them a lot. And I don't know, it's been a very interesting growth, I guess, in a way, to do Shakespeare like this, because I think it's closer to what it might have been. Because once again, there's just there's no division between us and the audience. We were doing an outdoor production. There's this small private garden here in New York, and I've been doing those every summer. We do a production there. And that has a thoroughfare of people. It's free. The Arts Council puts it on, and people can wander in and out. They don't need tickets. They don't need to get a pass or anything. So they come into this garden. People walking down the street will pass it. They see a live performance and they come on. They know that we are in the back of the garden getting ready because they can see through the show up onto the hill that we have a small tent set up, but the actors are milling around out there. So they see the actors coming down. And once the actors come within a foot or two of the tent, they have to be in character. So if they're coming from the back of the garden, coming through the flowers, they're already in character, and the audience sees through the play and might see 2 sets of actors crisscrossing each other on 2 different levels in character. And once I'm getting meta in my old age. I really want to break down as much of us and them as I possibly can. Might not work for everything. I don't know if it would work for The Odd Couple. We're doing Neil Simon. I don't know if it would work, but I want to see how far we can go, because I think a lot of audience would make just as fine of actors or have that feeling, and I want them to be able to express themselves. And I've run out of steam on that. Any other questions? Aaron, why did you take it? Hank. You wait, Aaron.
Yeah. What other plays have you done where you break down like the barrier that much and have the audience incorporated?
Well, we have done our outdoor theater almost exclusively going through the audience because it's a theater in the round situation. And the audience, there's a little green and there's flowers all around and there's a walkway all around that. Well, the audience comes in and they don't know where we're going to be doing the play. So they come in and they sit at different positions. So then the actors, sometimes they've complained and they said, well, they're in my way. They're in this entrance. And I said, well, you have to go around. You have to figure a way around them. Or kids will wander through. Well, they're part of the show now. Part of the show. Or dogs will bark, or people will pass by, or some. It's been a lot of different things, and I have done every Shakespearean show that I've done in this garden there like that, and that's been about 10 performances. And we've done all of our Shakespearean shows indoors, which have been about 5 like that. I would like to break it down further. We might be doing Hamlet again. I'd like to break it down further where the actors are getting ready around the audience. And the audience then is in a tent within the building, so that the audience has to walk through the actors backstage, essentially, into the tent. So it would be like a traveling theater company. Because in the old days, a traveling theater company comes in with a wagon, boom, they set up in the middle of the town square. People see them making up. It's part of the advertisement. So I want to see how far we can go with that. And so far it's been quite different. You know, when we do our outdoor productions, this little private garden has no bathroom. There's no bathroom. So we do full productions with no stopping. There's no intermission. We started with an hour-and-a-half long 12th night. And our longest one was Hamlet, and that was about 2 hours and 45 minutes without an intermission. And I had thought it was going to be too long. But strangely enough, people get up, they go, they come back. Or we had, on the last night of our Hamlet, in this smallish place, 110 people. And some of them stood through most of that show in the back. And in Shakespeare's time, I don't believe there was an intermission. I don't believe there was a stop. People bring their own drinks. They go off to get something to drink. They come back. It's a whirligig. It keeps going around and around. It's like a clock. It doesn't stop. And I guess that's part of what we do even in our little garden, is that I block it so that whatever's happening in the middle, there's something happening over here and something about to happen over here, so that when the audience is looking over here, someone's coming in there, and then they focus there, then it happens over here, and it's like a gear upon a gear upon a gear. And I try to do that as much as possible indoors, so that audience it's like a magic trick. It's basically someone's doing something over here, they're watching, and then something happens over here and they start watching that. Then back and back and boom and boom. We do run on quite a little, I did say there's no community theater here. I almost run my theater like a community theater. We have a stock group of people, and I use the same people over and over again, as much as I can. Because it is very hard to get work here. And I tell them all that if they like working with someone, they should be a proponent of them. Try to get them work. And I have a happy little band of people. And the more they work together, actually, the better they get, I find. I find that, as I said before, the whole breakdown of making an ass out of yourself is easier when you've already worked with people 4 times before. They know, they feel more comfortable coming in. And it is my job as a director to play the father figure sometimes, and to allow them to feel safe. They know that I won't let them look stupid on stage. They know that I've even said before, we were doing Richard III in the garden one year, and we never got through the whole thing with the whole cast. And it was the last night we were rehearsing, and we had to finally say, okay, that's it. And I had the guy playing Buckingham, and he said, "Oh, you've got to cancel. You've got to cancel the first night." And I said, "No, it will go off without a hitch. I promise you. Everyone will take care of each other. It will be fine." I said, "Now, if I was worried, I would cancel. I wouldn't let you guys go out and make fools out of yourself." And I do care quite a lot about the actors because it's a hard business. It's a terribly hard business. And I guess, people ask if this, speaking of business, if it's a craft or if it's an art. I have to say that it is, there's three aspects of acting, and I liken it to building a chair. All right, the first part is a craft. All right, and that's how you make a chair. 4 legs. How many inches you need to make it off the ground for people to sit comfortably. That's your craft. That's how to make a chair. The next is an art. Well, what's it going to look like? Should I have a curve to the back? Do I want to put little lions on the heads of the armrests? How do I do that? Am I a good carver? That's the artwork. Now, the third part is the magic. And some people have this magic to begin with. Some people never find this magic. But the magic is, if you have a craft, I've built the chair. You have an art, I've put lions on the head of the armrests. The art comes in when you have to carve those eyes. And the eyes of the lions following you all the way around. That's the magic that you just possess. You have not. I have worked with actors that have been very good at their craft, but they did not have that. And sometimes I've worked with people who are just terrible, really, but somehow they have this, they're terrible at the craft, but they have this magic, and it sails them through the rest of the show. I wish I could explain it. Actually, I'm glad I can't explain it. I'm very happy not to explain it. Because you want to be somewhat mysterious as an actor or a performer. Because you're a magician, like I said. These people, they come to see the show. They have to be in somewhat awe of you in order to sit through a 2-hour performance of anything. So they have to be somewhat interested in the magic that you're doing. And if you could weave this spell for people, then they will. They'll sit through anything. Like I said, 2:45. Could I have sat through a 2:45 Hamlet? I don't know. But we were so spellbinding. I guess it worked. This is just iced tea, by the way. So don't think that I'm doing anything terrible. My throat gets dry. But Erin, why are you here?
Well, I mean, obviously to see you, because I haven't seen you in a long time.
That's magic.
I mean, that's it. That's the whole reason. No, when I was 15 and doing Shakespeare in the Park, I was mesmerized by Mr. Josh. He is probably one of the funniest people I've ever seen on stage, and off stage, backstage, and being like a 15-year-old, I was just like, this guy is so amazing. Anyway, so I'm very glad that we're still friends, even though we haven't seen each other or talked in a bit. But I mean, really, right now, there's, I don't have a lot of opportunity. Even before the play, I didn't really have a ton of opportunity right now because I have a 5-year-old running around now. So it's difficult to do theater, to do shows when you have a munchkin running around. I mean, you can, but then you have like massive guilt about not being there. So this is kind of my way to connect with people and kind of just hear about things. I love what you're doing, like with your theater. That sounds amazing and like so much fun. And I think that would be so awesome. And yeah, it reminds me of going to the Globe and seeing shows, because they still do it at the Globe. So we saw, I saw the Scottish play at the Globe, and there was no intermission. And we were growling, so we were standing there in the front the whole time. Yeah, it's just I love what you're doing. I love hearing about the different things and the different ways that the folks who are doing these master classes like think of the craft and of how what benefits you get from it. I work for a payroll company now, so I'm actually currently working like while I'm on this call, unfortunately, because it's crazy busy time. But I mean, it's people ask me like, what does a theater degree get you? Like, how can how does that translate to an online payroll company or whatever? And I mean, it's a ton. It gets me a ton. Like, I can talk to numerous people. I can talk to like all kinds of different people. I can explain things in multiple ways because everybody hears things a different way. And you definitely do learn how to like work as a part of a team. I mean, Shakespeare in the Park had a huge impact on my life. It was really my first steps into actual theater. It was John Maltzberger. Is that his last name?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my dad at Farmers Union, and when I was 15, and he, oh hey, you should come for the company, and I did, and so that really changed the course of my life. And it's just a wonderful thing. So I just wanted to have that connection and see people and hear about different things. So that's why I'm here, rambling as usual, of course. I think you also, I don't know if you can see them because they don't have their video on, but there's a Melissa and an Annie on here as well, Josh.
Oh, now let's see if I can be smart about this. Melissa, why are you here?
Can you all hear me?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Sorry, my
Melissa?
camera isn't working, but my sound works.
Oh, how delightful.
All right, so my name is Melissa. I was in the theater world for many years, mostly doing technical theater. I worked with the Pollard Theater for quite a while, but then life got in the way and I just didn't have the time to drive back and forth to the theater because my work shifts often went into the evenings when we would do rehearsals and performances. So I just got out of the theater world for a long time, and then COVID hit and I had more time. So I thought, well, I'll kind of see what's happening in the theater world. Unfortunately, nothing is happening right now that you can really take part in. So I really enjoyed hearing what you're doing with your theater company. That's kind of why I'm here, is just seeing what other theater companies are doing, what people are doing during this time of COVID, how they run their programs, and different ideas that they have.
Well, we, it's funny you mentioned the Globe, for instance, because we as Americans treat Shakespeare as very, very sacred, very sacred. Every word must dot, 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 dot. The English have no problem with improv during Shakespeare. Every time I've been to the Globe, they throw all sorts of improv in. They talk directly to the audience. They, like one of the clowns will come out and say, "Oh, you know how it is," and they'll point to the guy's girlfriend, and they go on and on about that. They take pieces of their lunch, because I was a groundling once, and they took some sandwich from the person next to me and a drink and da da da. So we try to put in, at least I try more and more to be playful with it. I think a lot of why Shakespeare gets a bum rap is because people aren't playful with it. Shakespeare, and even all classical theater to a certain degree, I was drawn to it originally because there's so many different things you can do with it. It's funny, someone was just talking about this the other day. They wanted to know what makes a good classical actor. And I said, well, with Shakespeare, actors are drawn to it because there are so many different things you can do with one character. I said, however, what makes a good classical actor is that you pick one of those things and go with it. You can play Hamlet 100 different ways. You just can't play Hamlet 100 different ways in the same production. You must pick one way. And you have to have true answers to the questions, like, is Hamlet mad or is he pretending to be mad? You have to decide which one. You really have to decide which one. Even if your decision is he thinks he's pretending mad, but he's actually gone mad. He doesn't know that. Well, that's a different decision too, but it is just one decision. Now, I've seen, especially with the larger parts, it get away from people. They play Mac or they play Iago or they play Richard or Hamlet, and they're so overwhelming. They're so overwhelming that you go down rabbit holes and you go, well, this scene does this and this and this. No, you have to go in. You have to decide one choice, and that has to inform the rest of your character through the play. It's funny. We had just recorded Mac. We were supposed to do the Scottish play this Halloween for our Halloween show, and so we recorded it. I don't know how well it came out because it's cursed. Strangely enough, now that they're watching the dailies, there's points where sound is dropped out, and there's also. So I don't know. I'm actually thinking of deconstructing it more. We had in it that we had shots of backstage actors getting ready to where you'd hear scenes going on, but you'd see what was going on behind the scenes. I've had the witches in almost every scene in the background, even on stage, that they're just waiting for their moments to come on, or they come in as waiting women, or they come in as this or that. So they're always, it's as if they're the stage managers of the production. So we're kind of sloshing through that right now. The camera is not my best friend, but I think that in the end, classical theater is, I think this is especially Shakespeare, allows people's imaginations to run wild, whether director, art, whatever. And I think that's why 400 years later, we're still doing these things, because even if we say, okay, this person set Hamlet in 1960s New York, and then 10 years later, someone does the exact same thing, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. Even if you've heard of someone playing Hamlet and you go, oh, that's a smart way to play it, then you try it, you would never be able to copy their production. It's impossible. Which leads us to auditioning. I thought I mentioned something about auditioning. I have probably seen, oh gosh, when I put out for one of these shows, you know, there's maybe 8, 12, 15. I usually have larger casts because I like a lot of people. I like to give them all chances. That's what I like, more people. So let's say I ask for 15 people. I get 1,500 submissions. You know, I put it out in the little newspaper, the little theater. So you get 15 to, 2,000 submissions. And so I have to wade through those. Now you're going to have mainly 75% of those be women and 25 of those % be men. So the men get a little get out of jail free card, because I need usually more men. The women, the first thing that knocks them out of the park is I look and see if they've done any classical theater. If they haven't done any Shakespeare, usually that knocks them out, unless they're so charactery, I cannot not give them an audition. I try as much as I can to audition outside of the box. I would fill the whole stage with cartoony people like myself if I could. Really, I just can't get enough of different people. So, so after I get down to that, I will invite for maybe, let's say, 10 actors. I'll invite 150 people. I know that out of 150 people, 100 people are going to write back. 50 just won't ever write back. Okay, they're actors. Out of that 100, I know that day of, I will get a lot of excuses coming back to me saying anything from my appendix burst last night to my boyfriend was trapped in a car on the freeway, and that's fine. You got other stuff to do. Okay. So I usually end up seeing mainly about 60, 70 people. That's usually what I get it down to out of this 1,500. And most of them, I can at this point tell if they're any good by the time they walk into the theater. They can talk, sure. I definitely can tell if they're any good by the time they say their first line. I'm polite and listen to the rest of it. And I even give them another go. Usually I say, okay, read this other part. I usually give them 2 different characters to read. But I've gotten to a point where I pretty much go by what they've come with. Now, if you're auditioning, I do have to say this. Pick something, if you are required to do an audition piece, pick something you really like, that really suits you and that you really love. A lot of audition people will say, oh, don't pick things that are ultra famous. I don't necessarily believe that. I've had people come in gutsy and say, I'm going to do To Be or Not to Be. And I go, wow, that's gutsy. That is really gutsy to come in and do that. And if they do it and I can tell that they love it, I am more apt to say, okay, go with something exceptionally famous that you really like. I have gotten many things, and I do Winter of Discontent all the time. Another biggie you're not supposed to do. Boom, knock it out of the park. Because I love it. I love that part. I love the character can come in and out right like that. So I suggest you find an audition piece of something you really connect with, that you really love, and that you would see yourself trapped in doing for the rest of your life if you had to. If I had to do one play for the rest of my life, I'd do Richard III for the rest of my life. It's fine. It's funny. It's dramatic. Sure. Maybe I do Scrooge at the holidays, but mainly I think it's Richard III. I would do for the rest of my life. I could be a jolly fun with that. So I do suggest when you go to audition to pick something you love, and also don't be too worried about being pigeonholed or being put into a niche. At least you're getting cast. There's later down the road you can start calling your own tune and saying, well, I would like to play this, that, or the other. Get cast. Go to as many auditions as you can, because you have more of an ability to be cast by being seen than not being seen. If you're at your home, no one's going to cast you. But I've went into auditions, didn't get any part, didn't know why. I'm brilliant, but we'll go on. But 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, I get a call from the people and they said, you know, we really liked you in that audition. We've put your name and stuff back, and now I'm calling you to come in for this. You just never know who you're going to meet. And I suggest if you wanted to pursue this in any way, shape, or form, meet people, know people, because this is an art, a business that thrives on interpersonal communication. There are actors who are so famous that people will put up with them being terrible people backstage for what they can give to the performance. They're so good on stage that they'll put up with backstage. But for the most part, people don't do that. People really want you to be a good person. And really, if you're a good person backstage, if you're helpful, wise, considerate, you will make these connections. And people will say, you know what, Hank, I want to work with Hank. He's a nice guy. I really want to work with Hank. A lot of times people have called me up, cast me because they've seen me in other things. They know from word of mouth that a director will say, oh, he's a nice guy to work with. You know, he's on time, yada, yada. And I guess that also informs with the fact that you, this does teach you other things in life. This does teach you how to be with someone, talk to someone, bond with people in life. There is nothing as frightening, really, as going on stage for a lot of people. I myself have never been too afraid, but I do. There's one time during Hamlet, actually, I was playing Polonius, and I was coming out, and I was to do the speech, neither a borrower nor lender beats. I'd done it a dozen times. We were out in the park. And I walked out there, and for maybe the second time in my life, I totally dried up. Could not think of the speech. Was terrified. I looked at the person playing my daughter, the person playing my son. I had not clue one. And for the first time in my life, I think I felt what people would feel as stage fright. I was horrified. I thought, what can I do? Do I just walk off the stage? What can I possibly do? So finally, what seemed to me to be half an hour, but it must have been only seconds, I jumped to the middle of the speech and ran through it. But I was terrified, horrified. And I have to think that people, for the most part, feel that thought by going out on stage, by getting up in front of people talking. And so if you do this now, as a young man, even as a younger man, it will be such a boon for you that you can actually just feel like you have control. You know, now I feel like I have complete control anytime I walk off on stage. I feel actually more in control on stage than I do on stage. There's never a moment on stage where I'm, for instance, here's a small story. My theater production was just doing Midsummer Night's Dream, I don't know, June something. We were doing it this last year. And I was playing Puck. And in my production, Puck came out at the beginning, and he was this gruff cigar smoking sort of guy, and he had the script. The script was on the stage. He picks up the script and he starts reading it. He says, okay, Midsummer Night's Dream, interior Athens or whatever. And the people come on, and he was going up. I climb up to light the moon, and I climb up. Well, we did the whole show, but it got down to the point with the mechanicals at the end, and they were about to do their play within a play, where they present this little play on stage. Somehow, the players got so mixed up at the beginning of the play, they jumped all their lines to the last part of the play within a play. Now, this would have thrown off all the actors, because we had the Duke and the Amazon watching it, and the lovers, and it would have totally destroyed it, because it was a rather funny bit. So I saw that Bottom had jumped all of this and was going straight to the end. So I, as Puck, who was watching the play, I was with the audience, stood up and said, stop, stop. I grabbed some pieces of paper, because I'd been throwing the script all over the stage the whole time. I said, this isn't how it goes. I said, we're going to start this all over. I apologized in character to the audience. I said, they're new, they're terrible. And I said, okay, start again. they reset, they started again, they went through it. Now I was incomplete, that did not bother me whatsoever to do. Now we had, it didn't really occur to me at the time, but several audience members had asked the actors, they go, was that supposed to happen? Some had saw it before and said, that didn't happen last time. Others had said, that just seems like something Josh might do randomly. So they were very questioning. Others thought, oh, it had to be. How could they have memorized all that and went back and done it again? But this is more of what I'm trying to step into, a breathing, living thing that can go any which way. And it's this art form that, yeah, it's 400-year-old words, but we can still cut and shuffle them any which way we please. I think that gives it life. And that's kind of what I'm interested in doing, actually, more so. But that just makes me feel that I'm in control. And the actors then know that, because I was also directing it, that I have their backs. I wasn't going to let them make a fool of it. I don't care. We can stop the show over. We can do anything we damn well please. The audience has already paid their ticket. If they get upset, they can leave. So really, it's all, they're in our world. And they're there to watch something. They're there to absorb our world. They're there to be a part of it. They want to fall into this magical world. They want us to be magicians. They want us to wow them. Yeah, so there, I went off onto another tangent. Any more questions? How am I doing on time? Have I went over time? You have to shout at me. Oh, it's 9:07, good. So
I don't think you've talked to Annie yet.
Huh?
I said, I'm not running this, but I don't think you've talked to Annie yet. There's also someone named Annie on here.
Is there an Annie here? I feel like I'm at a seance. Is there an Annie here? Is there an Annie in the room?
Yeah, I'm here. My camera just doesn't work. Sorry.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven. Why are you here, Annie?
Well, I've done one musical theater production of The Music Man. And so I really enjoyed that, but that was last year and I haven't been able to get into anything again. And we found this class, or my mom did, and so I've been coming to these because of that.
Has it helped you in any way? These other people?
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit. It's cool to hear about everything.
How old are you, might I ask?
I'm 16.
Okay, and you're in high school.
Yes.
Okay, and you want to do musical theater?
I would like to continue doing it, but maybe not as a career.
Once again, do so. Do continue doing this. I don't want to dissuade anyone from doing this. But once again, as I said at the beginning, if you can do anything else as a career to make money, do that. You have to really be insane to want to do this as a career. It's the toughest. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Really, I wouldn't. If I had an enemy and I thought, what's the worst thing I could wish upon him? It would be to be a struggling actor for the rest of their lives, because it's horrible. But as a art form, as a community theater base, which you guys, where do you live, honey?
I live in Oklahoma City.
Oh, brilliant. So you have a great community theater there. You have a lot of things you can do there. I would suggest going to Shakespeare in the Park. I would suggest trying out for any of, do they still have the, does anyone know if they still have the Young Company in Shakespeare in the Park? Do they have the Young Company? Nobody knows?
I don't know.
I don't know. Hank doesn't know. Do you know?
No, I don't.
They always go, and even all of these theaters probably have things for young members, and you should really partake. you will meet interesting people. You will broaden your horizons. You will learn how to do. And sometimes people go into it wanting to act and come away going, wow, I really like doing carpentry, or I really like doing costumes. And it opens up a whole new world. They go, I learned to sew. I learned most of the stuff I know about costumes from doing Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park, from a strange man by the name of Robert Pettenridge, who was the best costumer I've ever worked with. He taught me all about the history of costumes, the importance of each character. In fact, it got down to a point where he was teaching at my college. I was going to UCO, University of Central Oklahoma. And so what I would do before an audition, I would go into Robert's costume. He had this costume hole that they used to do all the costumes in. And I would ask him, before I would go to auditions, I would go, what are they looking for this character? What are they thinking about? What's the years they're putting this in? What is this feeling of this? What are they doing? And he would lay out, oh, well, this particular character is going to be a dandy, or he's going to be a snob, or he's going to be this. And I would go, thank you very much. And that's when I would go into audition. It just informs you. People all the time will say, well, Josh, how did you know that? Or how did you know about this time of history? How did you? It's all because of theater. It's all because I had to pick it up. I studied it because we did some sort of stupid thing set in 1876 or 1920 or 1945, and I went and read a book about it or saw movies about it. And so don't be disheartened. If you enjoy doing it, continue to do it. Continue to do it. Get involved. Get involved with, even if Shakespeare in the Park doesn't do young offer to volunteer. Offer to volunteer to hand out programs. It's just, theater just lays a base of such a good community. And you'll just meet the most interesting people that will, I think, make you a better person. Really. I'm a better person for having done Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park. I'll tell you another story. Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park. I was a bit of a snob for a little while. I was at my first season of Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park, and I was young. I don't remember how old. I was still in my teens, I think, and I was given a rather large part in, for my first one out of the gate was Love's Labor's Lost. And I was playing Don Armato. And I was very happy with it. And I was starting to get recognized around town. Well, once I was in the supermarket, and this guy who was very scary started following me through the supermarket. And he had on he had on a undershirt that was stained. He just looked like the scariest. And I thought, who is this guy following me? What is this about? I can't believe this. And finally comes up to me and he stops his cart in front of mine. And I'm thinking, what could this possibly be about? And he goes, hey, you. And I said, yeah. He says, you do that Shakespeare in the Park? And I said, yeah. He says, I went to one of those and you were so good. I couldn't believe it. I love the whole thing. I'm going to come back. And so at that moment, my 18, 19-year-old self realized that you don't have to be a certain way, this way or that way to enjoy theater. That it kind of crosses all boundaries. And it made me really want to connect more with the audience at that point, because this is someone I never would have had a conversation with. But we sat there and talked. He talked to me about the show. He talked to me about the next show he wanted to see, what it meant. And I just think it opens up your mind. Even if you're just going to see live theater, I think it opens up your mind to such a huge extent that it's a connection that I think we as humans are losing to a large extent. You know, you look back at caveman days where the hunters would come back And they would act out the hunt in front of everybody else. And everybody else in the tribe would go, wow, what did you do? And they said, well, this is what we did. And Tanga came over here and he stabbed him. And that's what theater is. It's storytelling, but it's real. It's real. They know that whatever the actor says at that moment is happening really in front of them. There's no double takes. There's no, we're going to retake this. There's no doing it over. They have to be good to go. And if something is a mistake, they have to deal with it. And as an actor, it teaches you to deal with mistakes. It teaches you to deal with people. And that's that. Any other questions? Comments? Worries? Worries are good. What? I don't know.
What's your second favorite role that you've ever done? I know what your favorite is.
Yeah, well, my second favorite. That's a hard one.
Like if somebody said you absolutely are never allowed to do Richard III again, what would you do?
What a horrible thing. Well, because as you get older, see, another thing is you do age out of these parts. So old people can play Richard though. Gosh. You know, now I've played Mac 3 times. I keep getting drawn back to it, but it's a headache. I get fierce headaches every single time I do it. Chronic, horrible headaches, because you have to think it is so, you begin to question every little thing you do. Every little thing you do, you begin to question in that blasted show. And I keep going back to it. I didn't want to film that, but the woman that filmed it, she's also playing Lady Mac. She was going to be in our production during this Halloween. And I said, well, we can't do it, you know, this past Halloween, COVID, blah, blah. So she goes, well, she has a filming company. She wants to film that. And I said, why pick that one? That one is a headache. But we did. Will it ever see the light of day? I don't know. It gave me something to do during COVID, I guess. So, you know, I do have to say this, even going to see bad theater is good because it tells you something. There's a reason it's bad. And you can go, oh, that's bad because this, and this. I'll be sure not to do that. Hamlet, for instance. If I'm going to, I really wish I could look at a lot of these shows through the audience's eyes. This is something I tell the actors all the time before we begin. And this is good to know for every actor doing classic theater. As strange as it is to us, most of the audience does not know how most of these plays will end. They do not know. A lot of actors know how Hamlet backwards and forwards. And they just assume everyone knows Hamlet dies at the end or Ophelia dies, and when they don't. When I did Hamlet in the Garden about 3 years ago, I had to hire a rental van, 2 rental people to come and take some antique chairs from my house on 23rd and 1st Avenue up to 89th and Amsterdam. Doesn't seem like a long thing, but it's about an hour journey up through there. So I hired these 2 guys. English was not their first language. I think they said they were from Poland. And so we get into the thing, we put the things in, and the driver, he was in his 50s. His helper was in his 20s. And we're driving along, hot day, hot July day. Windows down, he has no air conditioning. And I'm riding along with them, and the guy says, so what are these for? These for, play? And I said, yes, they're for a play. He says, what is the play called? I said, it's Hamlet. He goes, oh, I heard of Hamlet. What happens in Hamlet? So for the hour we were driving along, I told them the story of Hamlet. They had not clue one how that was going to end. And so we get to a point where I said, well, okay, then Ophelia drowns herself. What? Isn't she Hamlet's girlfriend? Why is she drowned herself? I said, well, she was depressed, or she was crazy. So we get to the point where it's a sword fight. And I said, well, Laertes is fighting with Hamlet. He pricks Hamlet. Wait. Doesn't he have poison on his sword? I said, yes. All right, go on. Pricks Laertes. Laertes dies. Hamlet takes the cup, forces down the king's, he dies, and then Hamlet dies. This driver was very bothered by this moment in this play. He says, wait, Hamlet dies? I said, yes, Hamlet dies. No, Hamlet can't die. I said, Hamlet dies in the play. I didn't write it. Hamlet dies in the play. He goes, I did not see that. I've heard of this play. This happens. It opened up a huge chasm for me that I had realized in most of these plays I was doing, I was playing for other actors in my head. And the more and more I start talking to normal audience members, they had not clue one of a lot of huge plot developments that we as actors take for granted. If I see a good Hamlet, I sit through it and I go, okay, I wonder what they're going to do with this scene, and this scene. If I'm sitting through a bad Hamlet, I go, okay, well, I only have this scene, and this scene to get through, and then it's over. But we as actors have to come to a point where not only are we doing this for the first time, but we are telling a story as if the audience has no clue what is about to happen. And it has bared me out in many instances that audiences are shocked. They're shocked about the in Twelfth Night. They're shocked about the other twin coming back from the dead. They're shocked about all this happenstance that happens. So that's, if you are playing Shakespeare or directing, just push forward the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. Your character really doesn't know, because the audience don't assume that the audience knows what you assume is very famous pieces. We are a rarefied group, actors. I don't know if that really answered your question. Although the play, I guess, that really haunts me is Hamlet. I keep rewriting and recutting it and re-looking over it, and I could do it about a dozen different ways. I keep wanting to journey back to Hamlet over and over. But yeah, it's Richard. It's Richard, hands down. Richard, funny Richard, mean, kid killer. What's not to like about play? Hank, have you ever read Richard III?
I've not read it, but I saw the Shakespeare in the Park production of it once.
Oh, was Tyler Richard? I think Tyler might have been Richard the last time they did it there.
I don't remember. It was a couple years ago.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Good play. I like that. Any other questions? So, in conclusion, we'll go on a bit. The more theater you see, the better it'll be for you. If you're not getting cast, volunteer. Just be a part of it. You'll find it just helps you out in so many different ways. And you'll find that it just opens up a lot of venues for you to explore. I do take my hat off to a mother that is very clever to get your son into theater. I think and that's Erin, that's up to you now too. 5 is getting there.
Oh, she's been wanting to be in theater. We've taken her to family karaoke and she gets up and sings. As you saw, she has not shy at all about talking to people. I just had it on mute so she wouldn't interrupt everyone. I don't know where she gets it. It's weird.
I can imagine.
Constantly.
I can imagine.
Ooh, weird.
So, what else? What other things can I pontificate upon? Hank, for instance. So are you going to audition more? Is that
I'm hoping to, yes.
what do you want to do in life? Do you have a career picked out or something you're interested in?
I am interested in architecture. I would like to get a major in that. That's
It's
something
funny.
that I'd like.
Every time somebody asks me what I would have, well, I always say, they always talk about acting. I go, you know, if I was really smart, I would have been an architect. I always say architect. That's so strange that you said architect, because I've always thought that's what you should do to make money, be an architect. I always thought that would be a great thing to do, is build houses, places for people to journey or to come to meet. That's very basic. It's very strong. Human. Theater is humanity. And I guess that's why I don't care for doing productions over Zoom a lot of times. I don't get that connection. I'm not a big fan of myself doing one-person shows because I get lonely on stage. I get lonely on stage. I really do. I want to have other people on stage. I guess in a one-person thing, at least I get to talk to the audience. And that's why I don't think, no one has been able to show me in Shakespeare where an aside or a soliloquy isn't given directly to the audience. I haven't found one where they don't talk directly to the audience. I've never known where the audience isn't a part of the show. And I also have to say about soliloquies and asides, I haven't found any character in Shakespeare that knowingly lies to the audience. They lie to everybody else on stage, but Richard III never lies to the audience. Iago never lies to the audience. You could say that both of them try to get the audience on their side, but they never lied to the audience. I guess there's no point. But if you are auditioning for Shakespeare, and it is a soliloquy, make the brave choice to engage your auditors with the soliloquy. Put it to them personally, as if you're talking to them. If you do, now is the winter of our discontent, make it a conversation. It is a conversation between your character and the audience. I just think that Shakespeare, and I guess that's why I keep going back to it, is exactly what I want to work into, to be drawn and to meld with the audience, because Shakespeare's audience was, his performances were in the middle of the day. The audience was in bare light, straightforward. It was there. They were standing, they were sitting right there. You could see all their faces. There was no hiding them. And I definitely think that, you know, we didn't get to it, but we were doing Merry Wives of Windsor the last time indoors. And we had wanted to have a bar in the back so that people could get refreshments throughout the show. And we're going to start doing that so that people could feel that they can get up and go and replenish themselves. I don't want anyone to be dry during a show, you know, who wants that? So if they want to get a Coke or a beverage, they could. Because in the old days, that's how it was. You know, you see the old cartoons of an actor and people throw fruit at them. Or the reason that is about is because people were eating in the audience. So if you were bad, they were going to throw their orange peel straight at you. The stuff was there. They were around filth. They're going to say, I kind of want that again. I kind of want there to be a little bit of a fear that actors have to kind of pull their weight. They can't be boring. And I guess this is what I tell my actors. The one worst thing is being boring on stage. There's a lot of things you can be on stage, but boring shouldn't be one of them.
Josh, you are never boring.
Well, I follow my own advice.
You are, you are amazing.
Magnetic, I think is the word.
You are magnetic. You guys, Josh, thank you so much for doing this tonight.
Oh no, thank you for Shakespeare in the Park, and Tyler. Thank you for thinking of me and my little hole here in New York. That was so sweet that you all came to listen to me pontificate for golly an hour and a half.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're gonna do more of this series, and then I think we're gonna look to do more of this next year as well. We've got
Very touching group of people. I told them. While we have you here,
yes.
Is there a young company?
Yes, there is. There's been a young company theater camp at OSP for 30 some odd years, actually. This is, in fact, the first season that there hasn't been. But normally we have a camp where you can go and learn. It's usually 1 or sometimes 2 weeks, depending on the year. It's during the day. And we do acting classes and stage combat classes and text classes and all kinds of things.
How old are the?
It's usually high school, about 15 to 18 years old. And we'll do that next summer.
Because we have Hank who's in Shawnee, and we have someone else running around.
Annie, right?
Annie, yeah, speak up. It's weird. They're kind of the body.
I know.
Annie too, but she's in Oklahoma City. So I said, even if that doesn't work out, couldn't they volunteer?
Yes, there's absolutely. There's volunteers opportunities. There's everything from being an usher to being backstage, but there's also, like Josh said, the young company camp. And and we're actually going to be opening up our outdoor theater here in April. So we're going to have more venues and more opportunities for young actors as well. So definitely, come check us out and come audition for us and join us.
You, Annie.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Anyway, well, thank you again, Josh, and thank you all for being here tonight. And please stay safe out there. And we'll hopefully see you next week. We've got Kenrick Green coming in from Toronto, actually. So he's going to be with us. And then to finish it off on the 21st, we've got James Ricks from Virginia. He's going to be part of it as well. So please join us. Tell your friends. The more the merrier. And they're all free, again, thanks to Allied Arts. So thank you all very much. And I will bid you good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.